Now let me tell you about my new friend, old Burt. Most times, Burt was a quiet, unassuming fella. He took up a lot of space and had what I consider an imposing appearance. But that didn't matter very much because he also had what I considered a kindly disposition. Oh, sure, if you saw old Burt coming in your direction, you'd probably be tempted to run screaming for your life, but that wasn't Burt's fault. Left to his own devices, he couldn't hurt a fly. You see, Burt was a lot like a pit bull. A genuinely misunderstood soul. He needed good handling and a stable environment in order to reach his personal best. Yes, just like that particular breed of dog, how Burt ultimately behaved depended entirely on who he was associating with. He needed good influences above all else. Yeah, Burt didn't mean any harm. He was just impressionable and easy to mishandle. But so long as he remained in the company of caring, responsible people and stayed far, far away from the state of California, where associating with him could get you locked up for life if you hurt someone with him, Burt was an alright guy. You had to be patient with him, though. He was a slow learner, and the only word he knew how to say was his own name. "Stay focused, Fortunite," Borman shouted. "Dark elves incoming! They were hiding in a side corridor. They're trying to surround us." Oh, danger. Well, let's see what my good friend Burt has to say about that. "Burt!" I yelled. "Second, boy!" After I faced him towards the elves, Burt said his name for about 11 seconds. Probably the longest 11 seconds of their miserable lives. Yeah, old Burt might not be a master of fancy linguistics, but I'll tell you what, when he wants to, he gets his point across just fine. Just ask all that crimson jelly that used to be people if they'd had any trouble understanding him. Or don't, probably better if you don't. "Did you say there were elves coming, Borman?" I asked the big knight. "All I see are pureed tomatoes." Behind me, Borman brought his massive foot down on the spine of a struggling elf, ending his life with a crunchy-sounding stomp. Then he said, "That is a fearsome weapon you wield, Sir Matthew, but I worry that it may be exacting a costly toll on your sanity." "How'd you figure?" I asked him, as he stomped on another dying elf's head. "Well, you keep talking to it," he said. "Honestly, it's a little unsettling." He brought his hammer down on another prone elf to finish it off. I had to give Borman credit for focus. He did not believe in letting his defeated opponents play dead. He much preferred they be authentic. "Hey, I'm just letting Burt know he's a good boy, that's all." "He's a very good boy," I said, as I affectionately patted the side of my minigun. "Oh, Burt, the world may misunderstand you, but I never will." "If you say so, sir," Borman said, kicking over another dying elf before stepping on his throat. "Still, be on your guard. Vexavius is undoubtedly aware of our presence. The nerve of a sorcerer is not unlike the web of a spider. Traps are everywhere, waiting to ensnare us if we are unwary. Surely you've already noticed how unnatural this environment is." "You mean how it's way bigger on the inside than the outside?" I asked him. "I halfway expected this. A misspent youth secretly reading young adult fantasies by the creek taught me that wizards always have their little tricks." "Well, this is no mere story," Borman grunted. "Vexavius has more in store for us than mere tricks. He wouldn't be so willing to throw away the lives of his elite guard if he wasn't confident in his own power to oppose us." "What?" I snorted. "These flower pickers are his elites? Well, that boy better raise his standards. J.K. Rowling would do better on an episode of Drag Race than these suckers are doing against us." "I don't know what that means. And don't be so overconfident, Sir Matthew," Borman warned me. "This battle is just beginning, and faint to realize our foes can." And there he went again. Good lord, I didn't mean to be rude, but ever since Borman had become my friend, he sure had settled into the role of being a bossy big brother. Always giving me unasked for advice and lectures and telling me what I'm doing wrong and how I should go about things. It was low-key driving me nuts. I already had an older brother, once, and let me tell you, once was enough. His name had been Kiefer, and he'd been a degenerate piece of trash. He was ruin itself in a human skin. He broke our mother's heart more times than I can count with his self-centered, misbehaving ways. Died all the way up in Chicago, gunned down by the very scum he double-crossed for one crazy reason or another. Probably robbed their favourite Olive Garden or something. He was always going on about Olive Garden. I hadn't wasted so much as a sniffle when the law broke the news to us. Hell, flying out to identify his body was one of the happiest days of my life. It was the first time I'd ever had genuine Chicago deep dish pizza. That's a precious memory I'll always hold dear in my heart. Mama saw Kiefer as a victim, but I always knew that was how things would end for him. Even when we were children, I knew that something had gone wrong inside that diseased mind of his. Truth be told, I'd halfway expected I'd have to do the job myself if he ever tried severing back into our lives. It's hard for others to understand how I could feel that way about my own kin, but after what he'd done to our stepsister, Lizzie, fuck him. He deserved worse than what he got, and I hope Hal kept the receipts when he landed there. "Sir Matthew?" Borman asked me, with a concerned expression on his face. "Is something amiss?" "Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Pard. I just got to thinking some old unpleasant thoughts. Are there any more elves? I feel like killing some more elves." A cry of challenge erupted from down the hall as more elves swarmed in, apparently eager to join their brothers in death. Fine by me. "It would appear your wish has been granted," Borman said, as he raised his warhammer. "Well, ain't I the luckiest boy in the whole wide world?" I muttered under my breath, as I lifted up old Burt for some more fun frolicking with strangers. Today's activity would be splatter painting. 2 hours or so into the manor, and all the killing had truly become tedious. "Is there no end to these willow weeds?" Borman grunted, after smashing up his umpteenth elf. I haven't even bothered to keep track of how many of them I'd gunned down. For one, I didn't have to since Pete did it for me, but mainly it was because even I have my limits. "Shoot, you're asking me?" I asked him over the roar of old Bert's fire. Believe it or not, I don't like killing people. Not even these people. I knew that when it had to be done, it had to be done, but it really wasn't high up on the list of things I enjoyed. I much preferred fishing. Fishing was great. It was peaceful, it was quiet, you could get a lot of thinking and drinking done, and when you were finished for the day you might have a nice-sized black bass or two to toss on the grill, and then, oh my goodness, you'll be eating like a king for days. But this mass slaughter of murder-obsessed assholes wasn't like fishing at all. It felt like a chore. Sure, each one of these peckerwoods we put down was another threat to the world, silenced, and that could only be a good thing. But Bobbin and I were just men. Men couldn't wallow in death like this. Wasn't good for the mind. Made people feel twitchy. Heck, I was probably feeling worse than twitchy. After all, I'd already started the night out having people put on stakes. "Pete, what's going on down here, bud? This ain't no 60 damn hours. We've been at this for hours." "Oh, I do apologise, Sir Matthew," Pete said fretfully. "Give me 1 moment to link with Skywolf and receive an updated count." "Done." "Oh dear. That seems unusual." "What?" "Don't keep me in suspense, Bard. Out with it." "Somehow the elves have increased their number to 84, Pete said worriedly. "Pete, what the actual hell, man?" I yelled in exasperation. "That's more, not less." "I'm so sorry, sir. I've no idea how so many could have gotten through my surveillance. It makes no sense. It's as though they've materialised from thin air." "That's exactly what they're doing," Borman cut in. "It's not your fault, Construct. These cowards must have set up a circle of summoning connected to the homeland. It'll be somewhere within this manse. It's a favourite tactic of theirs, overwhelming their foes for a sheer numbers advantage. Despite all their boastful claims of being superior warriors, they can't do anything on their own." "Then I suppose we'll need to find it," I grumbled plaintively, as we finished the last set of this crop of attackers. "You'll have no time for such an endeavour, human," called out an arrogant voice. A single dark elf appeared before us, dressed in elegant-looking silver embellished black armour, wearing a very swanky-looking red cloak that I had to admit I liked very much. I wondered if Pete could replicate a copy of it for me. I didn't mind taking the original off the elf's body, but it would probably be soaked in blood and full of bullet holes. I didn't like getting elf blood on my stuff. It smelled like Febreze. "You're a brave little grasshopper to come face us all alone," I said to him. "My bravery is without question, and need not be discussed by the likes of a cud-chewing mammal," the elf said, contemptuously. "I am Commander Laftalev, and on behalf of my lord, Karasix Vexephius, I've come alone to negotiate terms—" "Yeah, hold on. Just hold on for a sec, please. Pete, put a wall behind us, just in case someone's trying to flank us again, and then make a recliner ×2 for me and my good friend Borman, if you please." "What are you doing?" Borman asked me in confusion. "I've seen this fella's kind more times than I'd like to admit, big man. Trust me, folks like this love to hear their own voices. I figure if we're going to have to listen to him drone on, we may as well be comfortable. Give this chair a try, buddy. I promise you, you'll love it." "What manner of seat is this?" Borman asked curiously, before sitting down in it carefully. "That's a recliner, a mainstay of comfort and relaxation back in the land I come from. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend wearing a set or full plate while taking a seat, but Pete's a thoughtful guy. I reinforce the materials, unless I'm mistaken." "Not at all, Sir Matthew. In fact, I'm flattered you noticed." "Come on, Pete, you always do good work," I said with a smile. He liked that compliment and buzzed happily to himself for a bit. "Well, it is comfortable, I won't deny that, but I'm not sure I consider it the finest chair I've ever sat on," Borman said. "No offence intended, Construct." "Oh yeah? Well, pull that rod over to the side and then tell me what you think," I said to him. "This one? What will that do? Oh, this is good. Such clever engineering," Borman said in a pleasantly surprised tone of voice, as the seat kicked his legs up. "My apologies, Construct, I spoke out of ignorance." Well now, don't be in such a rush, Borman, I said to him. Now you've got to try pressing that red button over on the armrest. Oh, which one? This one? Why, what does it do? Ooh, 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 ah, he said, as his voice dropped into a perfectly relaxed sigh when the chair's massage feature activated and began vibrating against his back. Even in his armor, that had to feel good. Nice, right? Pete only provides the best. This is heaven. This is heaven incarnate. The gods may claim me now, for I'll never again know such bliss, Borman said dreamily. Oh, don't be dramatic, friend. Pete and I will fix you up with one of your own once all this nonsense is over and done with. You'd do that for me? Really? Of course we would. We're friends, ain't we? Well, I appreciate that, Sir Matthew. I truly do, and please accept my sincerest apologies for the sucker punch. That was untoward of me. You're an honourable and brave fellow, and I was wrong to give in to my fears as I did. Water under the bridge, big man. And hey, no more of this Sir Matthew stuff, okay? Any fellow who spends a few hours with me killing a bunch of crazy dark elves gets to call me Matt. You got that? Yes, I do, Matt. As for you, please address me by my given name as well. I'm Byron. Byron Borman? I said with a chuckle. Wow, that's alliterative, isn't it? My Lord Father liked how it sounded, Borman said. What's his name? Leslie. Ah, I guess I can see why. Stop ignoring me! Screamed the furious elf. Rude, Borman grunted. I couldn't agree more, I replied. I find his yelling uncalled for as well, chipped in Pete. Yeah, that's 3 voices to 1 telling you to call your britches, tough guy, I said to Laffy Taffy, or whatever the heck his name was supposed to be. Just finish saying your piece so we can hurry up and kill you and get on with our night, yeah? Laffy started ranting again, and that was as good a time as any to check the sound dampening feature Pete had built into my helmet. I know he can't see my lips moving, but can he hear us speaking? Not at all, sir, Pete said directly into the earpiece he'd whipped up for me earlier. Cool. Pete, make a few drones for us, will you? Ground-based ones, like little race cars, times 20. No, make that 30. I want you to combine them with 30 big pieces of plastique, if you would, and then send them racing off as fast as you can into the halls behind that idiot jabbing away in front of us. Actually, can you put them silently behind him, so he won't notice? Of course I can. What would you like to do with them, sir? Pete asked. Use a few of them to map out the rest of this damn place. Use the rest to find their summoning room, then detonate as soon as you do. At once, sir. Many thanks, I said to him. Then I clicked off the sound dampener and turned to Borman. I'm so sorry, but I nodded off for a few moments there. Did I miss anything important? He said he has thousands of men to throw at us until we weaken and falter, and once we fall, we'll languish in darkness and misery for 1,000 years of agony while begging for death. But we may yet be forgiven if we return amended to them and beg for Vexephius' grace and mercy, he said. Yikes! How'd that make you feel? Like I'm going to enjoy twisting his life-forsaken head off his neck and shoving it inside his filthy bowels, Borman said in a poor tone of voice. Does that mean break time is over? I asked him sadly. I'm afraid so, Matt. I hope you'll remember your promise about this wonderful chair, though, he said hopefully. I tapped my forehead and nodded. It's locked in the vault, buddy. Wonderful, he said merrily. You're ignoring me again, screamed Daffy Duck, or whatever the hell. Yeah, I said. I rose reluctantly from my chair, lifted old Burt and gave a quick spray across the elf's lower half, sending him tumbling to the floor, screaming in pain as he clutched at the bloody strips of raw flesh that had once been his legs. What? No! Why? I came to parley, he sputtered, as Borman crossed the room towards him unhurriedly with his warhammer held over his shoulder. Parley? Borman asked amicably. No, Elf, you came to threaten us and play for time. I still would have let you walk away, but then you sullied my lady's name by speaking it, and sullied my honour by daring to believe I'd ever return her to your foul master. That deserves an appropriate response, I think. Now hold still, please, he said, as he reached for the elf's face. No. I am eternal. I am of the night. I am... Past a certain point, I stopped watching, and felt relief when Borman walked away from the body, although the gauntlets encasing his hands were now stained red. I shifted my grip on the minigun so that it hung on my left arm. It was now between me and the big night. Why is that, you ask? No reason. A sudden boom erupted ahead of our position, followed by dozens of confused screams of pain. What was that? Borman shouted in alarm. Relax. That's the sound of their portal room having technical difficulties, I informed him. Pete, how's that map coming along? Why, I do believe my little friends have successfully mapped the remainder of this building. Please allow me to guide you to the underground chambers of Lord Vexephius, Pete replied cheerfully. One moment, Bart. How many elves are still standing? Skywolf detects 40 remaining. Nice. Over half of them must have been in that summoning room. You're a great mad bomber, you know that, buddy? Oh no, Sir Matthew. It was your tactics that made this victory possible, Pete said humbly. Nah, I just ripped off the idea of an old episode of the Batman cartoon, I said with a laugh. Amazing! Is there anything Batman can't do? Pete asked. I don't know. Probably kill the Joker. Huh? Never mind. Pete, drones times 10. Aerial this time, please. Flamethrower times 10. Combine. Completed, sir. What are your commands? Sweep the rest of the building. Anything that isn't us gets deep fried. No one escapes. As you wish, sir. All right, Brian. Enough of these scrubs. Time to pay our respects to the master of the house. There were dozens of human bodies hanging upside down from hooks embedded in the ceiling. That's the first thing I remembered seeing when we came down from the stone stairwell of the dark, cavernous dwelling that Vexevius had created for himself. It was black, bleak, dirty, and there was presence in the air that made my skin crawl. This was an awful place where wrongs against nature had been committed, indecencies, evil. And there, sitting in a throne adorned with the bones of his many victims, sat the man himself, basking in the very sickness of all he'd done, enjoying it. Vexevius himself. He was one of those blue people, a Kavaros, I believe they're called, but larger than any I'd yet seen, nearly of a height with Borman. He was heavily muscled, wearing a long black kilt of some kind over his legs, and covered in strange ornate tattoos. He opened his eyes lazily and stared at us. I looked once more at the bodies on the hooks, then back at him. You will join them, he whispered. Is that right? I asked him quietly. It is, he nodded. Why'd you do this? Because I am a dragon. You're not. I am, and their small lives were the price I paid for the realization of my true self. Where is Lady Amanda? Not your concern. She will be mine once more. She will see me as I truly am. She will see me daubed in your tears and blood, and she will finally love me. You're a crack nut, huh? Do not speak to me like that. You couldn't stop me from doing it if you tried, crazy. I am not insane. You've gone bug fucking bananas, son. I am a dragon. You're a piece of shit. I am a dragon. You're gonna die screaming. I will feast upon you. Compactor. What is this? What are you doing? What is this? Well, Mr. Dragon, where I'm from, you can't just throw the trash away willy-nilly. You've got to make it smaller first, so there's room for the rest of the garbage to be buried. Release me from this contrivance. Of course. Once this finishes job. Let me out. How many people have you killed over the years? Let me out. Good lord, you're not even thinking about them even a little, are you? No remorse at all for the lives you ruined? For the families you tore apart, or so you could wallow in your delusions like a pig rolling in its muck? Let me out! Please let me out! Do dragons beg? I thought dragons roared. Let me out! Let me out! Please! Please! I don't want to die! Neither did your victims. Oh god. Star! Splash! Fuck you. I found Mandy's necklace a few minutes later. It wasn't difficult to locate, I just had to dig around through a square-shaped block of bloody blue meat. Just as Pete suspected, the thing was damn near indestructible, easily able to shake off a little vigorous squeezing. I handed the necklace to Borman. I didn't want to touch it any longer than I had to. You could have let me have a crack at him, you know, he said, as we left that awful place. Technically, I had greater cause. Sorry, Brian, these narcissists really set something off in me, every damn time, I said. They're never sorry for what they did, just sorry they got caught. Even at the end, he couldn't believe he was finally getting what he deserved. I spat angrily on the ground to emphasize my disgust. I find their attitude sickening. The world is still a better place without him and his followers in it, Borman said quietly. That's good for the world, I guess. Sucks for us, though. We're the ones who have to get our hands dirty, I said glumly. But behold, Borman said, a short while later, after I lowered the walls that surrounded the slave pens. The people inside ran from their place of captivity, cheering in joy, some dancing madly, others falling to their knees in prayer. There were even a few who'd burst out singing. I found out later that the girl we'd saved from the last elf in there had taken his key and released everyone from their cages. Now they stood in the open air, free once more, shouting their happiness to all who could hear them. There were still more than a few who sat quietly among the jubilant throng, too lost in their recent pain to readily accept their new circumstances. But given enough time and care, maybe they too would learn to cheer again. To sing. We might get our hands dirty, but it's worth it in the end, Matt. It's always worth it, Borman said, as he playfully punched me on the shoulder with a smile. Skywall sat unmoving at the centre of the curious crowd, as Borman tossed aside his helmet and hammer and approached Amanda as she exited the vehicle. Before the excited eyes of the crowd, he dropped to one knee and held her necklace out before him. Amanda's eyes gleamed like polished gems under the light of the stars. With one hand, she received her treasure from her champion. With her other, she gently stroked his cheek. "My lady," Borman said reverently. "My knight," she whispered affectionately. He rose to his feet, swept her into his arms, and kissed her ferociously, as the crowd roared its approval and chanted Borman's name. "Hey, I helped too," I tried to say. Someone glared at me and told me to hush. "Well, shoot," I said to Pete a little while later, as I relaxed in a lawn chair. I ditched my armour for my usual travelling clothes. It felt darn good to be out of all that hardware. Don't think I was being incautious, though. I still had a few drones flying high above me. They were armed with automated weaponry and giving me cover, just in case a few elves had stuck around to vent their hurt feelings. "It was a most productive night, Sir Matthew," Pete said cheerfully. "It was. It was funny, though. I did most of the work, but old Borman made out like a king." "It would never work out between you and her, sir. It won't work out between her and Borman. When the Eternal and the Ephemeral dally, the only thing that is certain is grief." "That's the way for tomorrow, Pard. Right now they have the day. And I'll admit it, I am a little jealous." "There's no sin in it, sir. Perhaps you'll find your own dragoness one day. But hopefully, not literally." "You've got away with words, don't you, Pete?" I said with a smirk. "Thank you for noticing. I'm also a very good listener." He was too. He really was. I spent the rest of the night chatting it up with my friend. When the early morning came, I had Skywolf empty its payload into Vexephius' House of Horrors. Maybe true evil was too terrible a power for any one person to ever truly destroy, but at least I had the option of ridding the land of some of it. Well, me and a few dozen rounds from my trusty Steve's twin rocket launchers, that is. No one can do it all alone, right? Watching that building engulfed in flames was a balm to my weary soul. I fell asleep to the sight of it and dreamed I was a child once more, resting beside a campfire, tired from a long summer's night spent playing with my friends in the yard, and happily anticipating more fun to come. Just a country boy living his best life.